Welcome to the Water the Bamboo podcast. Really appreciate having you here. Water the Bamboo is about being persistent, having patience, having courage, having that self-discipline, and keep watering. Thank you for joining me today. One of the things I want people to understand is that Water the Bamboo, the title of that book, Water the Bamboo, wasn't the original title. The original title of Water the Bamboo was Bring Your Spirit to Work. I think that's such an important concept is to understand is bring your spirit to work. In Bring Your Spirit to Work, Water the Bamboo was just one chapter, but I thought Water the Bamboo would be a better title. But I want to go back to Bring Your Spirit to Work because all of us need to bring our spirit to work. That's what today's podcast is about. You see, for the bamboo farmer, watering day after day after day really requires them to bring their spirit to the watering. And so do you. If you think about it, water the bamboo in terms of it having that long-term vision. For the bamboo farmer, bringing your spirit to work is the essence of Water the Bamboo. So you can just think about that. Think about this idea of your first day at a job. You know, your first day, you're excited. You get the interview, you get the job. What do? Well, you probably get a new shirt, new shoes, new suit, new underwear, whatever. You really are excited about going to that job and meeting the new people and understanding what the projects are. And what's great about that first day spirit is, I believe that can last forever. Think about this. After a few years, where does that first day spirit go for you? What happens? It starts to wane. We aren't that excited about the work, aren't that excited about the watering, and it just seems to fade. What I want you to think about is that first day spirit. One way I think about this is I have done, speeches for years, like over 15 years, I've been doing keynote speeches. And one of the things I think about with the audience, it's the first time they've heard me speak. I make sure I really deliver it. It may be a speech that I'm very familiar with, but I deliver it like it's the first time. Well, why do I do that? Well, it's the first time they've heard the speech. It's like with your customers, it's the first time they've had your experience. And it might be the last time if we don't bring our spirit to work. We have to sort of think about that, having that same experience. One example I love is I was on a flight one time and there's like 7 flight attendants. And one of the flight attendants, she was amazing. She was so kind. She said hello to everyone. She got drinks and just really was just amazing. And the other 6 were just robots. They just weren't moving around. And it was very interesting. I wanted her to serve me. I remember I had my own food, on my own snacks and everything, but I wanted her to help me get whatever she was doing because I wanted that interaction. And it was very interesting. I asked just for water. I'd like some water. And she did it so pleasantly and it was amazing. It was so amazing that I couldn't help myself. I said, hey, just want to know, you must be a new flight attendant. She goes, no. I've been in this for 30 years. I go, well, you must have just started your shift. She goes, no. I'm on, I've been on 3 flights. I've been away from my family for 4 days. And no. And she said this. It was amazing what she said. She said, what I know is some people, it's their first flight. I want it to be memorable for them. Some people are going to bury a loved one. I don't know who they are, but I want them to have my spirit. I want them to not have this be just a transaction. That had such an impact on me, just to what she said. I mean, she was having her own hard day, being away from her family. She had been in the business for a long, long time, but she acted like it was the first day because she knew for some people it was their first day or somebody may need a lift. So when you think about working with people and working with your coworkers and that, bring your spirit to your work. It's really, really powerful. You have no idea what it can do for another person. See, bringing your spirit to work isn't just about showing up. It's actually about showing up with intention to give your best. Really thinking about giving your best as you water, as you work. And when you go in with that intention, it really impacts your attitude. And I'm not just trying to peg out the positivity attitude bit, but if you have a positive attitude, you will actually engage better and help others engage better. Having that attitude makes a big difference. You're going to have to work anyway, so why not do it with that intention of bringing your spirit to work? One of the challenges with Water the Bamboo is that it takes years for your bamboo to grow. And some days you're watering, you're kind of just slugging away and it seems really, really hard. I understand tough days, Tough days are going to come. And what I want you to think about is, how do you conjure up that spirit? How do you conjure up that really bringing your spirit to work? And one of the things I think about with Water the Bamboo, think about this idea. The bamboo doesn't care how you feel. You have to think about, how do I nurture and water that? Your dreams don't care how you feel. I always tell people, don't water your bamboo unless you feel like it. But somehow you have to figure out how to feel like it every day about 6 a.m. So how do I get that spirit? How do I bring that back? And we've all had situations like this. I'm gonna give you a funny story. I was so exhausted one time, so tired. And a really dear friend of mine called me. I remember I was sitting on the couch and he called me and says, Greg, let's go to a movie. And I remember how excited I was that he called me, because I really love hanging out with him. And the movie he wanted to see, I really wanted to see it. And for some reason, I was up and ready to go. He came by and he picked me up, and I was just ready to run out of the house. And as we're driving to the theater, I was like, where did that come from? I'd been working all day, I'd been flying in from out of town, but somehow I got the energy to go to this movie. Where did that come from? That's kind of what I'm talking about. On those tough days, it doesn't feel like you have it, but you have way more potential than you can imagine, especially around this type of engagement. You can sort of think about that. So there's some moments you're going to have lulls, no question. But when you really think about bringing a little extra, I know you can do it. Okay, I'm going to give you some practical ideas to think about, and maybe hopefully some inspiring ones to think about as you have this concept come to your life. I'll give you like 10 strategies or so. The first thing I want you to think about is this quote from Plato that my grandfather told me. He said, be kind, for everyone you meet is in a great battle. So that person you're interacting with, they need you to bring your spirit. You know, a lot of people kind of get this messed up. They look for joy in the world. I want you to think about bringing joy to the world and to the people around you. So be kind. You have no idea what kind of day a person is having. You have no idea. We can see a broken arm or someone had a cast on, but you cannot see a broken heart. So think about that. Be kind. Everyone's struggling. Everyone's battling with something. You have no idea what that is. Your spirit might be the thing that gets them through the day. So think about that. Be kind. Everyone is in a great battle. And the second one, I've already mentioned it. The second thing I want you to do is, I want you to pretend it's your first day every day. Pretend it's your first time ever doing something. And if you think about that from that perspective, you have focus, you have energy, you have enthusiasm. Make the most boring thing you got to do every day. Make it like it's the first time you've ever done it. Bring that kind of spirit. And if you sort of trick your mind to do that, you'd be amazed how creative you can be and how you help people out. It's really interesting. It can be so simple to think about it's the first day, the first time. Bring that kind of spirit. And actually, when you go home too, treat people like it's the first time you've seen them, just like the puppy does. It gets so excited to see you, even though you've been with it for years, you've been with it all day. When it comes to you, it's very excited. It's like the first time. So you can actually do that yourself. The third thing that you have to do is you have to take care of yourself. You got to invest the seeds in you. Make sure you get enough rest, enough exercise. Take care of your body. Treat yourself like you're a miracle. If you take care of yourself, you can actually have the energy to do what I'm talking about. Really super important. Put yourself on the agenda, your own health on the agenda. It's a great way to sort of think about this. I want you to bring your spirit to yourself too, so you can give it to others. It's also important for you to know your personal values, know and follow them. In the book, Water the Bamboo, and the first chapter of Water the Bamboo is about values. A lot of people jump to a vision in their life, but I think values are so important. This fourth concept is super important, to think about, what do I care about? And thinking about what I care about and what my interests are, and I put energy into those things, it allows me to bring my spirit to my work. It allows me to sort of not be misaligned with what I truly believe. So that can help you bring your spirit to work. Understanding what you need, what your interests are, what your values are, super important. Great guidelines as you go on in your life. It helps you bring your spirit to work. Number 5, I think it's so important that you lean into uplifting coworkers and friends, people that actually bring their spirit to you, that lift you up. For me, I make it a point to contact and talk to my friends that actually make me laugh, that actually give me support. It's such an important concept, because if you don't have people around you feeding you who value and care about you, super challenging to get along in the world. Those people that love you and that care about you, that support you, lean into them. Use their spirit to help you bring your spirit, if that makes sense. Also, help them out too. Helping people is super important in this whole concept of bringing your spirit to work. Makes you feel good, makes them feel good. Number 6, avoid gossip and negativity. This can be challenging sometimes when you're around people that like to gossip or are always negative. And so what I try to do is I try to avoid them. At least if I'm around people who are gossiping, I actually shut down my heart. I don't open my heart up to people who are negative or gossiping because I know I don't feel good after it, and I know they don't feel good. Sometimes I think it's really interesting if you thought about this for a second. If you're around somebody who is being really negative and gossiping, and you allow it to happen, it's almost like letting somebody sneeze on you. And if somebody sneezed on you, what would you do? Well, you'd be pretty upset about it. You tell them not to do it. So in a physical sense, we understand that. But in this mental, emotional, spiritual sense, we have to sort of have some boundaries too. Even have some things to say. A lot of times I tell people, "Well, excuse me, I got to go get a haircut." Okay, if you can't see me here, I don't have any hair, so that's kind of funny. But I just say I gotta go. It's interesting about that. Like, how do I get out? How do I escape this gossiping? How do I escape negativity? It's something you need to sort of think about for yourself. How do I get away from it? Because it really affects your spirit. It really does. And if you're going to bring your spirit to work, you don't want to have that kind of tainted spirit. The seventh thing I want you to think about is to remember why you walked in. Why did you walk into the job? Why do you walk on the farm? Why are you watering your bamboo? Remembering your why is really important. For me, that's super inspiring. Like, why am I here? Why am I with this group? Why? Thinking about that why actually is super motivating. I know my purpose. So, do you know your purpose? Do you know your why? Why are you doing the job you're doing? And thinking about that why is really important. If you're just doing it for the money, I think we got to shift a few things. But having a deeper why is super, super important to bring your spirit to work. And your why are you watering this bamboo? Thinking about that why question for you is super important. And I think if you don't know what that is, I think you need to slow down and take some time and think that through. And in the book, Water the Bamboo, I talk about really generating what your values are, what's your vision. In those conversations with yourself, that reflection, you can come up with your own why and your own mission and why you're doing the work you're doing. It's super important to understand that. Otherwise, it's really challenging to bring your spirit to work. And this one's really tough for me. This is really tough. Managing your expectations. How do you manage your expectations? Like, expectations, as Anne Lamott says, are resentments in waiting. If you set a vision for your life, something you really want to do in your life, once you get there, you have to revision. But expectations can be really, really challenging. So managing them, especially when you're talking about a long-term thing. So you're not seeing results for a while. You have to manage how you deal with that. How you deal with that. So managing expectations about how it's going to be. Life will give you ups and downs, no question. So how are you going to be in the downs? And how do you manage your own expectations about how people treat you, about how the people around you are, and how you treat yourself? Managing these expectations is really, really critical to do. Thinking about, how do I manage my expectations around how I bring my spirit to work? Am I at 100% all the time? Absolutely not. No one's perfect. Well, except my wife, right? But this idea is, I have to give the best I can in the moment that I'm in. Make sense? So some days my 100% of me is here. Some days my 100% of me is here. It just goes higher or lower. But I'm going to give you 100%, all I got in terms of bringing my spirit. And when you bring your spirit to work, what's really interesting about this idea is, when you bring it, you actually get more energy. It's an interesting trick. So manage expectations of yourself and those around you. Super important. This is about pursuit of excellence. It's not about being perfect. Number 9 is to limit your complaining. Limit your complaining. I've made a pact with myself to limit my complaining to 45 seconds a day. That's kind of crazy. I know, 45 seconds a day. Some days I don't complain at all, but some days I do go over 45 seconds. And so my wife will remind me, hey, I think you're over 45 seconds. But it's really interesting. If you sort of thought about this, if you could limit your complaining because complaining and worry don't solve anything. They don't solve the thing. In fact, they exacerbate it. So what I want you to think about is limit your complaining. It's sort of related to the gossiping thing, but if you can limit how much you complain about a thing and really sort of dial that back, then we could take that same energy that would put into complaining, we could put that energy into watering. We could put that energy into bringing our spirit to work. We could put that energy into investing in ourselves, but limit our complaining. That's a really critical thing. Number 10, I want you to practice adding value to yourself and adding value to those around you. Ask people if you can help them. Ask yourself how you can help yourself. If you sort of thought about that from this perspective is, if you could serve yourself, what would you serve yourself? Others, what would you serve them? How would you want to approach them? Sometimes just a genuine smile to a person can really uplift their spirit, but also be willing to ask people how you can be of service to them. This will really help you bring your spirit to work. These 10 ideas I've given you here, you're probably implementing many of them already. What I'd like you to do is sort of really think about how you can bring your spirit to work every single day, every day, every moment you can. And sometimes you have to bring that spirit to yourself. See, your life's energy doesn't really care how you use it. You have a choice. You can be negative, you can gossip, you can do all those things. That's a choice. Or you can be positive and try to lift other people's spirit, including your own. It's really up to you. I truly hope this podcast has been a good reminder for you to bring your spirit to work. And if you got anything out of this, any value out of it, please share it with others around you. And please subscribe to the Water the Bamboo podcast. I'm Greg Bell, and I really appreciate you joining me today.